Oh my god, I'm about to drag this show for filth. What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today we are delving into why Good Girls got cancelled. So I had filmed a whole video last week after watching episode 10 and 11 of season 4 about how terrible the writing of Good Girls was getting, and then bam, as soon as I finished filming, the show got cancelled. So here we are, revisiting, revising, and delving into the reasons why the show got cancelled, my theories, how the show could have possibly been saved, and some conspiracy theories. So let's start from the beginning. Let's take it back. I have been a long-time fan of Good Girls. I remember watching the first episode of season 1 and being completely blown away. The concept was fresh, new, feminist. Overall was well-paced, it had good tension, it had a clear intention and message. I knew exactly what they were trying to say, and most of all, what I think made the show so appealing to viewers was how relatable and believable it was. And that's saying something for a show that is about criminals and laundering money, but I really do think that you could see yourselves in these characters. You were like, yes, go rob that grocery store, yes, launder that money. And that is pretty rare for a show to have this sense of believability and relatability. So I think that that is what kind of peaked it, for me at least, but I also think it was for a lot of the viewers. But as always, after the first 2 seasons, sometimes if you're lucky you get a good 3rd season, the show began to decline. And after a couple episodes of season 4 had aired, it was clear that the show had had very low ratings, and that is what caused the cancellation. I know they even tried moving the show over to Netflix, but even Netflix was like, girl, no, we are tired of your So, what happened? Our leading ladies and their dwindling storylines. Beth is a mess. Beth's intention is all over the place. She wants to kill Rio, she does want to kill Rio. She wants to be a criminal, she does want to be a criminal. Her decisions are messy and they make no sense. She is so hot and cold to the point that she's annoying. And whether or not that was the writer's intention, they headed into dangerous territory because Beth became so annoying to the point where she became unlikable to some viewers. And when the main character becomes unlikable, because let's face it, they made her the main character, that equals no viewers. Nobody wants to watch a show about a character that they don't like. For example, the whole Hitman storyline, like, girl, what are you doing? That was annoying. Now that we onto the storylines, that storyline went absolutely nowhere. Like, when it first began, it felt like a real threat. I was like, oh shit, they're really bringing a hitman? Like, but then as it progressed, I was like, oh, I get it. This is just some shit that they put in the episodes to like make the episodes longer and actually has no substance. This has been the case for a lot of the storylines that they have introduced in season 3 and season 4. Another storyline that initially began as a proper threat but dwindled into absolute nothingness was the whole FBI storyline. I swear, it's like the writers, they come up with this great concept and they're like, great, and then they carry on writing and they realize that it's kind of not going anywhere and that it was actually trash to begin with, and so they're like, let's see if we can write this out and nobody will notice. And it's like, girl, of course we're gonna notice. And I really feel like, especially with the FBI storyline, there was a huge missed opportunity, because in past seasons, when they had clear intention and a clear message, the main theme of Good Girls was women being overlooked in society, but more poignantly in the workplace. And that was exactly the case with the FBI lady. And so when they touched on that a little bit in one of the scenes, I was like, oh my god, is this lady gonna rebel? Is she gonna do something? Like, are we gonna get a little bit more fight from her? Are we gonna see some character development? But obviously no, that didn't happen. But I really do feel like that was a totally missed opportunity. Moving on to Ruby. So her plot for the most part just revolves around Beth, or is rooted in Beth, surrounds Beth. It's always connected to Beth. It never used to be that way. Previous seasons, Ruby had her own storylines, or storylines with Stan, that did not revolve around Beth, and they were really strong storylines. But for some reason in season 4, Ruby is kind of being kept in the back. I've noticed they don't really use her. She's underused, and when they do use her, it's for laughs, it's for comedic relief, and I think that's another missed opportunity. We know that Ruby is a strong character, Rhett is a strong actress, and she's more than capable to carry her own storyline. Even the Stan bag plot that initially was between Ruby and Stan has now been taken over by Beth, and now is more like a Stan-Beth thing. I just feel like Ruby deserved better. Lord have mercy, the writers have have absolutely no idea what they are doing with Annie. Where Ruby has no storyline, Annie has too many storylines that are open-ended and all revolve around men. She has 1,000 love interests that are all exactly the same, trash. And listen, I understand if they were trying to make a point about Annie's character that she can't pick like a proper partner for a romantic relationship, but I would understand that after 2 consecutive failed relationships. Like, I don't need to see her do this 500 times. I need some growth from her. And I know some of y'all are gonna come at me with the whole GED thing, but guess what? She got her GED and now what's happening? Now she's living with a homeless man. Girl, this homeless man plot, I am so done with it. As soon as it started, I was done with it. And on top of that, I was like, oh, I get it. You'll give this homeless man character more lines than you'll give Rio, who is a fan favorite and who has been part of the show since day one. And that brings me to the strange treatment of Rio's character. It's safe to say Rio took this show by storm. Literally nobody can tell me otherwise. If you have your doubts, if you don't believe me, just go on Twitter, type in good girls, click the hashtag, and look at all those tweets after it. You'll see that 99% are either about A, Rio himself, or B, Brio, the Beth and Rio ship. Period. Just the writing that propelled Rio's character, it was also Manny Montana, the actor. He breathed life into the character. If you watch any of the script-to-screen videos that the Good Girls YouTube channel has put up, you'll see that, well, at least for me, I can speak for myself, a lot of the things that made me fall in love with Rio as a character were things that weren't even scripted. For example, him putting his hand over Beth's wrist, not scripted. Him kissing the bullet before he puts it down on the table, that wasn't scripted. Manny Montana just has a good grasp of the character and knows exactly what he's doing, and I think the fans could tell. To be honest, I don't think that the writers intended for Rio's character to be in this show for this long. I think that maybe he had like 2 seasons and they were gonna kill him off or something, but because he became such a big character, they couldn't kill him off or like, you know, make him run away or whatever, and now they're salty that they have to keep him. I think this because the natural progression would have been you see a minor character of your show getting a lot of fan love and doing really well. So in turn, naturally, you would want to write more for that character, write a good, strong storyline for him, and involve him more in the show to entertain fans and keep them watching. Because at the end of the day, this is the entertainment industry. We watch to be entertained. So if you can clearly see that your audience wants this, give them more of this. But that has not been happening. This is where the conspiracy theory comes into play. So I have been annoyed that they have been sleeping on Manny Montana and Rio's character in this show for far too long. And a couple months ago, I was like, there's suspicious activity. I need to get to the bottom of this because this makes absolutely no sense to me. And I came across this Reddit post that was talking about this and saying a bunch of things, and I found a video from the Reddit post that was an interview between Christina Hendricks, Retta, and Mae Whitman, who are all Beth, Ruby, and Annie, respectively. And Manny Montana was brought up in the interview, as he should be, because he's become one of the main attractions for the show. And the way that specifically Christina and Retta spoke about him was really strange. You know, you can tell when you watch interviews when there's a lot of love between cast members and you can just like feel the love on set and through the interview. There was none of that.
There seems to be a lot of people who want Beth and Rio together.
Brio.
Seems to be.
Brio.
And this one's not on social media, so we get the brunt of it. When are they gonna fuck? I'm like,
That's what they say
stop.
on Instagram.
I was like, first of all, ew, get off me. But it's a lot. It's aggressive, and the Brio thing. I'm like,
Well, what do you think? Do you think that they should get together?
I wouldn't recommend anyone get together with a violent crime
boss.
person.
I'm like, ooh,
I
so
would
healthy
say
of
no.
you.
I'd be like, there's like a million fish in the sea. I wouldn't go down that road if I was you.
Yeah.
But
But-
want to take that.
The
dangerous-
people want it.
People want it.
Yeah.
I
People
don't know
want
why they
it.
want it so bad. Maybe it's because it's just like the idea of like a domestic mom with like just breaking all of her sort of, it's like so taboo.
Yeah, and also just like there's something about her especially because she's like the Don, I feel like, you know, of these, you know, and there's something about her just completely owning everything
And he makes her nervous and like sets her off kilter when in her normal life she's like, I got it, I know how to do this, I know how to do this and this, and then when he's around she's like
He also sees you, me being like, I'll tell you why. He like also sees you as like this badass that can like go to the top and do it all on your own, and you're like, I'm a boss, and he's like, I see that in you, and that's hot. Look at me. I'm like, I need to like,
Yes.
he sees and encourages the different part of you that's
Right.
more than just the life that you've had.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Elizabeth. Oh.
The fun fact, Rio calls Beth Elizabeth, and
This
no
is
one
fun.
else does. And Manny calls Christina Chris.
Which no one else
No
does.
one
No one
I
in
heard
my
him
life
say
calls
that
me
once,
Chris.
and I was like,
hate
who's
it.
Chris?
It's not my name. I think it's totally stupid. And he's never taken the chance to like realize that I hate it. And he's like, yo, what's up, Chris? I'm like looking behind me. And I'm like, who are
Like,
you?
who's
Oh,
Chris?
you mean, oh, okay.
So the theory is the cast doesn't like Manny Montana, specifically Christina Hendricks, and that is why he hasn't gotten more screen time. Now, you could argue that they have been giving him more screen time in the past couple episodes. Well, not the last two, but that one where they had a flashback. But I would argue that what they've recently been writing for him is cheesy, weak, rushed, and bare minimum writing to appease fans. And I hate to say it, but some of y'all ate that shit up. That was not good writing. Things that I found were really cheesy and honestly not like making any sense with any of Rio's past character choices or just like his past character story is him not being the main peanut and like, you know, heading this whole thing himself, being like a step down from the big hotshots, and two, him being so lenient on Beth when she turned him into the cops. I don't believe this, now they'll believe anything you tell them. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. Rio always held Beth accountable, and for some reason he's not doing it, and I know y'all are gonna come at me and be like, brother cousin told him to. I don't believe it. Sorry. Bottom line is, Rio is a main character and should have been paid respect, and maybe if they had, the show wouldn't have been cancelled. I honestly think his lack of screen time in season 4 is a big reason why the show got cancelled. Also, because we are sick of the brio-baiting. Every week, the marketing strategy of the Good Girls team would be dangle as much Rio and brio bait in front of the viewers to get them to watch the episode, only to discover that Rio is in one scene. Listen, that can work a few times, maybe even more than a few times. But after a while, we are going to catch on and we are going to be fed up with your shit. Don't promise things you can't deliver on. This is just lying. This is just lying. I remember watching the trailers for episode 10 and 11, last week's like a double episode that was supposed to be like this huge thing back from the hiatus. And Manny Montana's character Rio was like in most of the teasers. And when I watched the 2 episodes, I realized the amount of time he had in those teasers was the equivalent that he had in those episodes combined. This is the definition of brio bait, and I'm not sorry to say they paid the price for doing that shit to us. Now, in terms of the ship itself, I truly think they fumbled the bag with this one because it had such great potential. Now let's think. What made Brio, the Beth and Rio ship, so interesting and appealing and attractive to viewers? Obviously, it was the good girl falls for bad boy trope and vice versa, but also it was because Rio acted as such a great foil for Dean. Where Dean never saw Beth as an equal, Rio did, and where Dean never wanted to invite Beth in and teach her anything, Rio did. Rio brought her into the business. He said, you can do this and you're gonna inherit this shit at the end of it all. And I think that's why a lot of the fans really enjoyed Rio, because he was doing so much better than Dean. He was treating her so much better than Dean. Like, yeah, he was a bad boy at the end of the day. Yeah, he was kind of problematic, but like where it mattered, he was really good. He supported Beth where Dean never did. But obviously they ruined it all to the point where now I'm like, does Beth even deserve Rio? Because at this point, Beth has wronged him so many times. Realistically, and from a good writing perspective, it would not make any sense for Rio to be in love with Beth without a major change or event between the two of them to make it make sense. Sorry, not sorry. I love Brio as much as the next person, but it needs to be realistic. Going back to my previous point, it's the realism and the subtlety that makes this ship. So if Rio all of a sudden turns around and says he's madly in love with Beth, I'm gonna be like, what? Firstly, that's so out of character for him. Rio doesn't fall head over heels for anyone. He's literally mafia gangster boss. And secondly, I'll kind of be like, that's not very bad boy of you. You know what I mean? Like, this is just not the vibe. What I had hoped for Brio, Beth becomes a mafia boss alongside Rio and they live their Bonnie and Clyde fantasy forever and after. Obviously, I doubt that's gonna happen, especially now that the show's been cancelled. Honestly, before I even heard that the show was cancelled, I had a sneaking suspicion that they planned to kill Rio at the end of this season. This brings me to my next point, the unwanted redemption arc of Dean. Honestly, I don't even want to talk about this too much because I don't want to give him more time. I feel like he already gets so much screen time and I don't understand it. The fan base has made it so clear that we do not enjoy Dean as a character. We have not enjoyed him, I don't think, ever. And yet the writers are still shoving him down our throats. Now remember our little conspiracy theory? Another layer to it is that the reason why Dean has remained on this show for so long is because Mr. Shaggy Boo Boo was friends with Christina Hendricks, who plays Beth, before the show even began. What can I say? If you're friends with the people, you get the job. If you're not friends with the people, you don't really get the job. Honestly, when I watch episodes where Dean is talking for more than 2 minutes, I fume. I get so angry. And I'm not saying like the writers need to do everything that the fans tell them to, but it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. The natural progression would have been, okay, they like this character, they don't like this character. Let's pull back a little bit on this one and give them a little bit more of this one. And they just refuse to do it. So I'm like, the blatant disrespect. Like, why are you still putting this man on my screen when I've told you a million times I don't like him? So obviously that's gonna be another push to get viewers to stop watching, because it's like, we don't want to watch a show about people we don't like. And Beth has become unlikable and we always hated Dean, and you're giving them the most screen time. Fuck Annie, fuck Ruby. Let's give Dean a whole storyline about how he's fallen into a pyramid scheme. Do I care? No. And yet it's still here on my screen. To conclude, am I sad it's over? No. Am I sad that they ruined a great show? Yes. But at the same time, I feel like the show was already a lost cause and I didn't see it getting pulled back. Like, unless they did something drastic, which I really don't think that they would have done, it may as well have ended. The last sentence of my video from last week before I found out the show was cancelled, verbatim, was, please don't screw it up, come up with an ending and wrap it up strong, or go somewhere with the story and do it fast because I'm losing interest. It was like the universe heard me. She was like, okay girl, we'll cancel it for you. Oops. It had clearly lost direction and lost its intention, and the writers didn't really know what they were saying anymore. And I find that this happens a lot with shows, just shows in general, TV shows that I watch. After the first 2 seasons, things kind of go to shit, and that's because the way that I see it, I'm no expert, but TV shows, it's like, okay, we found a great concept and it starts off really strong and you'll get like a great first season as an introduction and then like a great second season that will elevate the first season. But then because a lot of TV shows, they don't have like a beginning, middle, end. When they begin, they just have a beginning. They just want to see how long that they can milk that shit for. And that's why shows kind of just flatline after a while, because they just want to milk it for as long as they can. And I think that's exactly what the Good Girls writers did. And the one way that they could have milked the show, they refused to do, which was giving Rio more screen time, more storyline, and making him feel more like a main character on the show. So I don't feel bad. I'm not sad. I'm like, yeah, ended. Those are my opinions as to why I think the show got cancelled. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, if you agree, if you disagree. Obviously don't come for me. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Thank you for coming to my office, which is my bedroom. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, share it with a friend, you know, do all that stuff because it really does help. But other than that, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye!